Hello, everybody. Happy, what's today? I'm like,
I don't know. It feels slow this week. I think it's Thursday.
yes, it's Thursday. Happy Thursday, everybody, and welcome to our show, Nap Chats. I'm Leslie, and
I'm Arvin.
and we are excited for this is episode number 5. Can you believe it? I mean, I feel like it was just last week that we decided to start this show, and now we've talked to so many wonderful parents so far on so many interesting topics. And today we have a really great topic that I think is affecting a lot of parents who are having kids who are going back to school. And a lot of parents are facing the decision right now of, should I send my child to school in person, or should we do virtual/distance learning? So we called on a dear friend who is an educator and also a parent, and to talk and discuss about that today. And so I'm really excited to introduce our guest for today. She is the assistant principal / dean of academics at the School of Science and Technology at Spring ISD for pre-K through 6th grade, Katherine Banogon. And I apologize if I say that the wrong way or not, but Katherine, you can correct me.
Hey.
That's good. Hi, everybody. You can say Banogon or Banogon. Chad says Banogon.
Okay. Banogon it is.
No, I like Banogon, though.
Banogon it is.
Banogon it is. I feel like Banogon is a little bit easier to say for some people, so we'll stick with Banogon then.
All right. Sounds good.
Awesome. So thank you again for being on the show today. We really appreciate you taking the time. I know this was your first week going back to school for the administration. How has your first week been?
Oh, my goodness. It's been very busy, just playing catch up. I mean, it's already busy enough as it is starting a school year, like a regular school year, but then we add COVID into the mix, and there's a lot of factors to consider when opening up a school. So it's been very busy.
I bet. I mean, it's just probably with not only with everything going on with COVID, it's like you add another factor into it with school and, figuring out all of these new guidelines and trying to navigate around it. So I guess, why don't we start off by kind of sharing a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I've been in public education for about 9 years. 5 of those years were spent as an elementary teacher, and 3 years was a high school teacher. And I just finished my 1 year as an administrator, and I'm going on to my 2nd year. Yes, I survived my first year.
Yeah.
And prior to that, I also did research at MD Anderson as a cell biologist. So I've always been kind of into education.
And science, it seems.
Yes, absolutely. That's my passion, science.
So I know, Leslie, you said spring. Can you help everyone understand where that is? Or Katherine?
Okay. So I live in the Woodlands, which is the suburbs outside of Houston and in Texas. And Spring is pretty much right next to the Woodlands. And I know Leslie's really good with geography and all, so she may be able to explain a little bit more. But yeah, we live in the north side.
Yeah, far away from the central Houston part. Not too far, but you kind of feel like you're driving down 45 all the way, and you're like, oh, okay, are we there yet? Not yet. Okay, a little bit more, and then you're there. But it's a beautiful, beautiful suburb / community, and lots of woods, lots of trees. Hence the name of the Woodlands. But we were so lucky to visit your beautiful home maybe a couple months ago before everything hit with COVID.
Yep.
And see your house. So that was nice. But it's definitely a change from you guys moving back from Hawaii. So you guys lived there for, was it 3 years, right?
Yes, you're right. So, I mean, Chad, my husband, has lived in Texas for all of his life. But we decided to just move to Hawaii for, like you said, 3 years just to try it out. And we absolutely loved it, but we miss home. You know, Texas is home, so we had to come back. But it was a nice experience for the kids as well, for my 2 boys.
Yeah, it was awesome to visit you guys. You visit you guys there a few years ago at this point, but paradise. But welcome back to the 48 contiguous states.
Yes, and the humidity in Houston. So let's get to our topic today, because I think that a lot of people who are hopefully watching, you know, they want to learn more about this, maybe more about what it might look like at school, and also for anybody who's doing distance learning. If you are currently watching the show, if you have kids that are going to school this fall season, type in the live chat. We want to know, are you sending your kids to school in person or virtually? We're just curious to know what the percentage of that is. I know we did a little survey on our Eli and Allie IG story yesterday, and I don't know what it was as of today, but I know when I saw it, I think I saw, do you remember? It was like 40% in person, 60% distance learning.
I may have tilted the scales because I also voted. I'm one of those.
Me too.
So we could divide in with the 3 of us right now. So I'm in the in-person camp, but we can get to that when it's appropriate.
Yeah. So I'm sure like the decision making for this has not been easy, right, Catherine? And there's so many factors and people that play a part in the decision making for the new guidelines for the school year. So I guess tell us a little bit about how that's been and what your school district is currently doing.
It's been a roller coaster. So we just learned how to go with the flow. It changes every minute. So we have to learn how to adapt to all those new changes. We pretty much just follow the TEA guidelines. We listen to the governor, whatever Governor Abbott recommends, we have to follow it. So we have guidelines that and the CDC as well. So we have those guidelines to follow, and we just need to learn how to implement them. How is it going to work in our campus for pre-K through a 7th grade campus? And it's been, the good thing about my district, SST, is we are a smaller district. So everyone pretty much knows each other, and we work as a team to figure things out. If there's something that we have a question on or we're unsure about, people are always available to, ask for advice, guidance, and help.
That's good that you have each other and support from all of your fellow faculty. So what exactly is Spring ISD doing for this coming fall?
So for the first 4 weeks, we're going to offer remote learning or distance learning for all of our students. And that's just to, protect the community, keep everybody safe, not just the students, but also the staff. So we're going to do distance learning for the first 4 weeks, and then we'll see to go from there.
Yeah, and I think I saw on that TEA recently made a decision to keep everybody virtual until September 8th. Is that right? I know that was kind of just very recent, like as of yesterday. So can you confirm that? Or I know there's like so many changing factors and different policies that are kind of coming left and right. But is that what you've heard?
It varies from district to district, and I'm not sure what each district is doing so far. I know Conroe ISD, where my sons go to school, I believe the start date is like September 12th, and our start date is September 24th. So it changes from their initial first day of school. But I think generally it's between 4 to 5 weeks of distance learning for all.
Nice.
We got a comment from Chanda Ahel. So they're doing the first 3 weeks remote learning.
I see.
Is similar to you, right, Leslie? Like it's kind of like you do these finite legs, and then you assess, and then you make another decision, so you can like change your mind over and over again. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, so we're in Spring Branch ISD, not to be confused with Spring ISD, but for our school, the administration on July 16th had come out to, saying that we get to choose between distance learning and distance learning and in person. And then we would do that for a 9-week time frame. And then after that, we would decide whether to, what we want to do from there. If we want to continue with distance learning or do in person. But as of yesterday, I know that they delayed the start of school by a week. So I feel like things are just changing still. And people are still trying to figure out how to navigate around all of this.
Yeah. There's a lot of fragmentation too, right? Sorry, Catherine, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying that's how it is also for our district and for Conroe ISD is you every 9 weeks or every quarter you can change your mind to see, if remote learning didn't work for you, then you can do in-person learning. So they do have that option to change at every quarter.
I see.
Got it. So it's kind of a commitment then for some.
Yeah, for 9 weeks. But I mean, if you really are in a situation where you have to choose the other, I'm pretty sure the administration will work with you if there's, circumstance going on at home. I'm sure they'll make an exception. I mean, we would make that exception.
Yeah.
So I know that we're in Texas, Catherine, but in other states, it might be a little different. So not to say that, what we're talking about might be a little bit different in other states, but I think the whole deciding between in-person and remote is very similar across the board, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So like
yeah.
In California, what have you heard, Arvin, about what they're doing in schools over there?
It is kind of a shit show. And it depends because there's it's not mandated from a federal level. It's just based off of the locality and how each region feels. So even within California, it's huge, right? There's a whole bunch of fragmentation on the way that the different school districts are operating. Our kids are in preschool, so we're not yet in the K through 12 machine, but so and that within itself, it has a lot of variability because preschool, and it's a private preschool too, and they're outdoors, so the classroom is like a trail or the beach, so the risk is a lot less, I suppose, biologically. So they're able to, since they're a private school, they can have classes and stay open, and the parents can opt in. So nice. Admittedly, we're kind of ignorant, like with other systems, but that's kind of where we stand. And we're going to be in person for sure because the class size is pretty small.
Well, that's really nice. California, for one, has beautiful weather. So it's really great that you can have the kids experience school outside, outdoors, in the beautiful nature. That's probably not ever going to happen here in Texas.
Texas has some really cool spots. I still really I miss it. But yeah, we are very thankful to to be able to escape to certain geographies.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
So Catherine, can you talk a little bit about what is in-person schooling going to look like this coming fall for any parents who are sending their kids to school? They might be a little bit concerned about the sanitation and hygiene, and how are teachers going to be keeping their students, safe and healthy all along, teaching them, the regular curriculum?
We're definitely going to try our best to follow the CDC guidelines. We're going to do, the 6 feet apart. We're going to try for our little kiddos to be 6 feet apart from each other. We're going to try that whole rope thing. So even for your 5th and 6th and 7th graders, it's going to be a challenge because, we have to treat them like our lower grade levels when it comes to social distancing, because everybody wants to socialize, especially they haven't seen their friends in such a long time. So we're going to try that 6 feet apart. We're going to monitor hand washing, make sure that they're properly washing their hands, and they're going to do it often. We're going to be enforcing the mask or face covering. But it depends, because according to the guideline, it's whatever you deem is like age appropriate. So for our pre-K and kinder, it may not be possible for them to wear that face mask for the duration of the day. So
Right.
Yeah.
we're going to try it out. It's always the first day of school is always like the tryout period. So we may try this all out for like the first week and see what happens. But our goal is to follow the CDC guidelines when it comes to keeping the students and the staff safe.
In regards to the CDC guidelines, do you know how up to date or current those their directives and instructions are? I ask that because there's some new data coming out that suggests that kids under 10 years old have much lower transmissibility rates, and then 10 and up, they can transmit like full-fledged adults. So 9, 10, 11 straddles this potentially straddles a low to high transmissibility. Is that taken into account?
We have not talked about that, like the age group but there is a general knowledge that children won't normally they're the carriers, but they don't normally transmit to each other at a higher rate, and that goes for the adults too. Like they won't necessarily give COVID virus to the adults at a higher rate as well. So yeah, we haven't really looked at like that straddle between 9 to 11 years old. We are so busy trying to open up the school, but just those minor details definitely need to be worked out before we open up in person.
Yeah.
And so for like, since CDC guidelines say usually it's 10 or older, is that the age range as well that is going to be required to wear the face mask?
Yeah, and that's what Governor Abbott has in his statement, is that 10 and under are not required, by the state of Texas to wear a face covering. So it's really up to the school to mandate that. Are they going to make it a rule, or are they going to, just recommend it? So it's basically up to the district and up to the campus.
I think it'll be quite interesting to see how kids are going to be with wearing their face mask, just because I know my 4-year-old, I mean, he can only keep it on for so long. And he's like, Mommy, can I take it off? I can't breathe. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
It'll be
so good luck.
Yeah, I know. The good thing about it is like we're going to minimize our class size. So usually we have about 28 little pre-Ks and kindergartners, and they have a TA. We're going to minimize that to half. So at least the maximum will be 15 students. So the teachers will have an easier time trying to manage those, put your mask back on, make sure you stay 6 feet, because they have less students in their class. But it'll still be a challenge. For sure.
Yeah. Does that work out organically, that the class size is minimized because the rest of the kids are at home? It's just naturally working out?
Well, I can only speak for my district, but the data shows when we did the parent survey that most of the parents are actually electing to have their students do distance learning. So it's working out for our campus so far, for our district. I know for Conroe ISD, my son's district, it's actually the opposite. They're getting opposite results. So it just varies what demographics, the school has, the type of population. It really varies. But
yeah, two things I just want to see if there's any consideration on this is school lunches, and then I guess access to tools. So typically, like lower income families will have lower access to broadband internet, and so we're seeing some disparaging results with what they're able to access from home versus in person. And then the whole school lunches thing where low income families have subsidized meals and they have the benefit of getting access to those in person. Whereas like if you're at home, like can you go to the school and get lunch? Is that like a school by school thing?
It's that I've seen most districts offer free Wi-Fi. We've passed out laptops. We've given them, free internet services. We've passed out meals on a weekly basis, or some even do it on a daily basis. So we've tried to provide everything that they're getting as if they were in school.
Nice.
We're still receiving those funding. We're funded by the state, so we still have all those money to spend on our students. So we've definitely tried to provide the Wi-Fi and the lunch and all that.
Yeah.
Is that just a follow-up question? Is that based off of property taxes? So more affluent neighborhoods will get better funding than poor neighborhoods?
It's based on state taxes. It depends on attendance. So however many students you have, let's say, if they attend, if you have, it's like, let's just say, for example, one student attending a school is $90. So it's just 90 times however many students you have. Our school has about 700 students. So it depends on attendance. Got it.
So for schools who they are having a majority of students doing distance learning, does every student receive a laptop, or are they able to use their own? So that's the first question. And then the other question is the state funding the resources for all the increase of technology that is needed, not only for the students, but for the teachers? I'm sure they also have to have good technology to be able to use their webcam, their computers, to be able to do distance learning.
So the good thing about this whole thing happening in the fall is we've already experienced it in March. And what we did in March was we provided one laptop per household. So let's say that, you have a sibling, there's 2 siblings that's going to SSC. We tried to prioritize at least distributing one laptop per household. For this year, we're definitely going to give one laptop per student. So as far as funding goes, since we're not going to have any field trips, we're not going to have other activities, a school has certain funds allocated to certain, let's say, departments, right? So if we're not going to have like field trips and activities, then we may use some of those funds to cover COVID cost-related stuff. But I'm not an expert when it comes to budget. I should have mentioned, as an assistant principal, my main area is the academics, analyzing data, instruction, curriculum. So as far as budget goes, I'm kind of guessing. So I can't really give you guys like a definite answer. It's just based on what I hear from the operations manager and our principal.
So as far as curriculum, then how that goes, in person is probably pretty standard, similar to what in-person learning, traditional learning has been in the classroom. Is that correct? Or is it going to be a little bit different when you're assimilating in the students who are distance learning? What is that going to look like?
So for our district,
Hi, Kaden.
Hey,
welcome.
All right.
It's a non-nap.
This is the pros of working from home. You get to be with your kids more.
After 8 years old, after 6 or 7, they don't nap anymore. So he's 8 years old. He's done with napping.
Yeah.
So your question, Leslie, was about, what was that? I'm sorry.
Like how are teachers assimilating it, or what is the curriculum going to look like in the classroom, and then also from home?
Gotcha. Okay, so our district has amazing curriculum coordinators where, for ELA, for math, for every single subject, and a span of grade levels, we have curriculum coordinators who plan like the scope and sequence, the unit guide, the year at a glance. So they plan the curriculum for us, and then they give it to the teachers, and the teachers do their lesson plan off of that. That's how it is traditionally. So now that we're doing this distance learning, the curriculum coordinators are going to make it a district-wide to basically create the lessons that the teachers are going to implement in person as well as remotely. So they're getting the same exact instruction, whether you're at home or whether you're on campus. The only advantage of being on campus is, you have that teacher in front of you. If you have an immediate question, then you can get that immediate assistance. So it's going to be the same exact curriculum that's going to be followed, whether you're at home or whether you're in school.
So it seems a initial reaction from me is like, so the at-home learning in my mind would be the common, like the bar, right? And so is there any concerns about the in-person learning having to lower to the level of the limitations of the distance learning?
There is no one size fits all for instruction, right? Like every student is so different. And when we're doing things traditionally, we try to differentiate for every student, right? Because everyone has their own needs. But when it comes to dealing with COVID and having two separate type of instruction, we kind of had to make a general one, like, so that it's uniform for all. Like everyone's receiving the same quality instruction. It's of course, in person is always best, the traditional way, but it is what we can do with this given circumstances. We had to make a uniform instruction. And, if you do say like, oh, is the quality a little bit lowered because we're trying to accommodate for those students at home? I mean, all I can say to that is in-person traditional instruction is always more effective, in my opinion.
Well, not only that, but you also have that social emotional support from your peers, from your teachers that you're getting. So that's going to be a little bit different when you have your child who's going to be at home distance learning and they don't have that in-person interaction, that interpersonal communication and everything. So that'll be interesting. But I guess what I'm trying to picture is, okay, so for our household, my son's going to be doing distance learning for the first 9 weeks. And his school day is typically from 7:20 to 2:30. So are we going to be like on Zoom the whole time with the classroom, his classroom at the school? Or is it, okay, we meet up for an hour in the morning and then we have like an assignment we have to do and then we meet up again? Like what does that look like?
So TEA gave us two options. It's called asynchronous model and synchronous model. And asynchronous would be students will work at their own pace. So they're going to be provided with a video of the teacher instructing or giving them directions. They're going to be given an assignment and it's due by, let's say, it's assigned on Monday and it's due by Friday. So they can work at their own pace. The parents can help them as soon as they get off work, or, they can help them on the weekend. So that's the asynchronous model. The synchronous model is everyone has to do at the same time. So it's kind of like how we're doing right now. We're live. This is synchronous. This is a synchronous model where everyone has to be present in order to get the information and, get the instruction from the teacher. So
I see.
Okay. In real time, there's like a camera on the teacher.
Yes.
Interesting. Do you like one over the other?
Well, going back to Leslie's question real quick, the way we're designing it, we're not expecting the students, whether it's asynchronous or synchronous model, we're not expecting the students to sit there for, let's say, 8 hours a day. That's definitely not doable. It's going to be overstimulating and way overwhelming for students. I think the minimum is probably maybe 3 hours a day, whether it's asynchronous or synchronous model, because it's not going to be like a traditional sit by your computer for 8 hours if you elected the distance learning. That's too much.
Yeah. Especially for, a 4-year-old like my son to be sitting in front of the computer for 3 hours, I feel like the attention span is just going to go like this.
They don't have that kind of attention span. If it's a traditional school, they have brain breaks, they have stretch breaks. You try to mix in your instruction, but you never lecture for more than 15 minutes because they're not going to gain any information. They're not going to retain anything after that.
Yeah. So is there anything that you can, for any parents who are preparing their child for distance/virtual learning, what are some tools, what are some things that tips or advice you can give them to prepare for it?
I would just say change our mindset a little bit. I know a lot of parents are very anxious about their students falling behind academically. They think that there's going to be this huge learning gap that needs to be filled. And I would say that's our job as educators, is we do that on a daily basis anyway. As soon as your students come to us during the fall, we try to fill in those gaps. And as I mentioned, as a curriculum, as a dean of academics, I look at data all the time. So I see the progress of students because we test them, we progress monitor them. So I see the results from every 9 weeks, and you can imagine how much they grow. With the right teacher, with the right instruction, we can catch them up. So I wouldn't worry so much about students falling behind. I would just, this time is let's give it some grace. Let's bring on our understanding when it comes to educators, and give ourselves some grace, because it's a lot to handle. And I would just take it one day at a time. So instead of looking at it, oh my gosh, what am I going to do for this whole entire year? Let's just plan, what are you going to do this 4 weeks? Like, how are we going to survive and thrive and, survive this 4 weeks? So just taking it one step at a time. That's my biggest advice.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a really good way to set expectations too. Like we cling on to things that are kind of permanent and like on a semester basis even. And so like even setting that expectation for the parents, like, hey, we're in this together. We're going to do 4 weeks at a time or whatever the interval is. And then things might change. And it's comforting.
Yes. Yeah. And it's the perfect time to build relationship with a teacher too, since, I feel like this is the time where you can really partner up with your teacher and improve your child's education and be really involved.
Yeah. So what percentage have you seen with your district of how many people are going to be doing distance learning versus in person? I keep on getting that mixed up. Sorry.
I know there's so many terms for it.
Yeah. What is the official term that most people are using?
It differs. It just depends. Some people say distance, remote. Some people say in person, in class, face to face. So it all varies. But for our campus, the parents that selected to be online or remote or distance learning is 67%, around there.
Wow.
And the parents that selected on site or on campus or face to face is 33, around 33%. So
yeah, 1/3, 2/3, and 1/3. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be like 50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's some interesting statistics. And so, like, what are some of the factors that are affecting that, as far as people, let's say those who are going in person? What have you seen as the main factors of why people are going in person versus distance learning?
The major reason that people are electing to send their students to school, I think, is because they have to work. They don't have any other option. They're essential workers, and they've got to go to work. And that's one of the main reasons, we have schools, is so that our parents, it helps the parents, to be able to do their jobs as well.
Yeah. I know, like with some parents, like they don't have the the flexibility between the two schedules of the parents to be able to have like one person at home with the kids or have another caretaker. So that's definitely tough, especially if that family has somebody at their household who's at risk for COVID, and you really have to make a difficult decision to figure out what's best for them.
Yeah, so it just depends on the circumstance that you have at home, and everyone has their own unique needs. So there is no like right or wrong answer whether you choose to be in person or online.
Yeah. And I like you said, it's best that we just all roll with the punches for now and kind of go with it, because it's going to be changing. I feel like the theme of 2020 has just been, just roll with it and and be flexible, because things are constantly changing right now.
You have to be, in order to be able to function, in order to survive, and in order to thrive, you have to adapt to the changes around you. And you just have to be understanding, be flexible. And that's what we tell our teachers all the time. And that's also how we work as administrators whenever we get something new from, central office, because that's mostly who's making the decision, and we have to adapt.
And Joy from Facebook said, very well said, good perspective. So thank you, Joy, for tuning in today. So let's talk. Okay, we talked about it from an educator side, and now we know we saw Kaden come in. We know you're also a parent, so there's also that perspective as well. Can you share with us, from the parent perspective, how are you feeling about the current situation?
Okay, so I'm gonna turn off my administrator mode, and I'm gonna go on parent mode now.
Parent mode on.
Yes.
Okay. How do I feel as far as my own kids? Can you be more specific? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah. So how do you feel about them going to school?
Personally, for our situation, I elected for them to stay home to do distance learning. And that is because, to me, their health, their safety is my main priority, as opposed to them, their academic well-being, let's say, or their social emotional growth, or their academic growth. As an educator, like my mom's also an educator, I feel like I can always teach them at home, or the teachers that they have at school, I trust them, and I trust that they can catch up my kids, whether there is a lag, or if they do fall behind in their learning. So that's what we have elected, but we'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're lucky to have your mom, who's also an educator, that's going to be there with the kids. So I feel like you got it, pretty nicely, having an educator at home, and yourself as an educator too. So that's great.
I know, it's distance.
And how is everything like as far as balancing?
Right now we can work. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right now we
Yes.
can work from home. So for the first 4 weeks we can continue to work from home. We can come in to the campus twice a week. So it's going well. Like I said, I have the luxury of having my mom here, having that family support, which, unfortunately not everyone has that. So they don't have a choice about sending their kids to school. But once I do have to report to work on a daily basis, then I will also have no choice but to send my students to school.
Yeah. Is that because going to school yourself, you're already opening up that vulnerability, so might as well just have them go to school too? Or is it just because you can't do the in-face at home for them?
Just because they're too young to be at home by themselves. Like my niece and nephews, they're like middle school, high school. Even if their moms and dads are going to work, they can still be at home unsupervised. But for our young little ones, we have to be there to supervise them. So it's the only way. Yeah, there's no other option, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Got it.
Or actually, there are other options. I'm sorry. I've seen like groups where they get together and there's parents who's willing to sit in with the kid. Have you guys heard of those like types of community?
Yeah, I've been hearing the term pandemic pods, homeschool pods. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so if you live in a community where you have a strong relationship with your neighbors, you know them and you trust that they'll watch your kid, and there's retired teachers that is willing to take in your kid and you can pay them, or you have these good daycares that you trust that sanitize and really keep your children safe, then yeah, I'd say go for it if you have those trusted adults around you.
Yeah, we were actually talking with, I was messaging with our neighbor, and luckily they also have their daughter, which is going to be in the same grade as Keanu. So we were kind of thinking about maybe doing some activities together. They're still kind of deciding for themselves if they're going to be in person or distance learning. But at least Keanu will have that peer support and have somebody else to do some activities with.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
So what else? I mean, are there any other resources or other things that you can recommend to any parents who are preparing for this school year?
I would say start asking questions, ask the teachers or the administrator questions about what kind of program. Are we on okay?
Mm-hmm.
Leslie,
I think so.
Arvin, you guys are good?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, there was a lag. Sorry, there was a lag in my Wi-Fi. But I would start familiarizing what program they're going to be using, because schools are going to be using, whether it's Google Classroom, Schoology, Canvas, Zoom. How do you navigate those programs? Like, I would start getting familiar with them. There's going to be tutorials, and so I would ask for those. I would reach out to the teachers and the admins to get help.
So I have a personal question. How about school supplies? So like, oh, can you hear me okay? Sorry. I guess like this is the woes of going live is sometimes the Wi-Fi or bandwidth at home is not that good.
You got her back. Yeah.
Okay. So how about school supplies? Like when we're doing activities and like the classrooms doing their activities, are we picking up those school supplies to do the same thing here? Are we having to just reinvent the wheel here, just pull out whatever we have in our scrap boxes? How does that work?
I would say just get the very basic. Just get the very basic. We actually sent out our school supplies prematurely, and parents are asking how a box of highlighters, a box of tissues. Like, why do we need to get all of this if we're gonna do distance learning? So so we had to retract and be like, you know what, just get the basic supplies. If you're a student doing, you don't need to buy any uniforms right now. Just the basic. You just need a notebook for every subject, pencil, maybe some crayons, but you won't need too much.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of school supplies on sale right now. I wonder how like the school supply market is doing in general, because maybe, people are not buying as many school supplies. I remember when I was a kid and I got so excited about getting school supplies. That was like, such a fun day.
The planner.
Yes. Yes.
Or you get those school supply
and
kits.
You can definitely still do that. I've seen parents who just want to bring some normalcy into starting of the fall, so they actually still go through the whole routine of, let's go school shopping, let's get you a new backpack, let's buy some new clothes. So I still see parents doing that just to bring a little bit of normalcy and that routine of starting the fall year.
That's true. I mean, like just to get them in the mode, like even buying like a cute little lunch kit for them, even though they're going to just be in like the next room next to their other room. But I thought about doing that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So this has been really informative. Just want to put it out there again for anybody listening. Type in any questions that you have for Katherine and anything that you have in terms of in-person or virtual learning. Looks like we do have a question actually from Joy on Facebook. Is there any guidance or encouragement for parents of teens?
Ooh, okay. Well, I taught high school for 3 years. The school that I'm an assistant principal of right now is actually pre-K through 7th. So I can only speak of my experience as a teacher when I taught for 3 years. I would say have them join those office hours. I'm sure a lot of the teachers are going to offer those office hours or campfire hours where everyone is synchronous. How do you say it?
Synchronous?
The synchronous model.
Synchronously. Yeah, that's a hard word.
Yes, where everyone is on at the same time so that they can, see each other's face, do chat with their friends. And we definitely did that. And it's such a nice feeling, especially back in March, just to see everyone's faces, smiling faces, or just to say hi, because we missed everybody so much, after that long spring break. So I would definitely encourage the parents and especially, not just for teens, but for all grade levels, make sure you attend those office hours and those campfire hours that they call it. Don't miss them. That's one way to continue that relationship with your friend, with the teachers and with the peers.
Yeah, I know, like similarly, like in the work environment, some companies, they do like virtual happy hours, just to like take a break from like the business mindset to just more of a social hour to make up or compensate for the lack of in-person socialization that they have in their office.
Yeah, I can comment on that too, because with a company that I just joined, we started doing these like Friday happy hour things, and it's literally like 20 to 30 minutes, and it seemed kind of cheesy at first, but it was like this good exercise. Everyone got to get acquainted with each other, and we do this thing where it's like, what's the high of your week, what's the low of your week, and then we just go around the circle, and it was like, this thing again. And then you start to get these tidbits of information where you get a little bit deeper, but it's that human interaction I value,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree with you, Arvin. Back in March, we met with all of the teachers on a weekly basis, and you get to know them a little bit on a personal level than you would have if it was, because you're so busy on campus running around. This virtual face-to-face, like we're looking at each other, we're asking questions, and it's right now at this time. So you definitely, some teachers also feel maybe a little bit more comfortable opening up when they're behind the screen as if it's in person, and that goes for everybody too. They may be a little bit more relaxed, so you get to know others on a personal level, which is a good thing. You get that connection.
Yeah.
Especially
That's
when
great.
the kids bomb in the background, and like the CEO, the kids come in, and it's like, oh, they're human too.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So I saw that also Amy Lineback, she made a comment on here that she doesn't know yet as far as how her children will be attending in person or virtually. So I know you kind of mentioned earlier when we were talking, but can you again just like share any advice for parents who are still kind of on the edge of deciding what to do for their children?
Hi, Amy. So it's totally okay that you don't know. A lot of us, even though we've decided one option, we're still not even sure about that option until it actually happens, So it's totally okay to not know right now. I would just say, reflect on your situation at home. What is your top priority? What is the most important to you? Is it the safety of, if you have elderly living at home, like those are the things that you have to consider, is the exposure. So I would just weigh the pros and cons of doing online versus on site, and go from there. And if it's not the right decision for you, you can always change your mind. You can wait until the 9 weeks, or if it's really an emergency, it was a completely wrong decision, you can speak to an administrator and say, let them know your circumstance and let them know that you would like the other option. So it's okay not to know. right now, I would just write it down, make a visual of the pros and cons. And I think if once you have that visual, you can look it over and make a better decision. But still, if you're still on the edge, just I would maybe speak to other people about it and just get their opinion. But your family, your family best, you know your needs the most. So whatever you decide, I'm sure it will be okay.
And there's an out, right? There's like no, you can always get revert back if you really have to. That gives me comfort. Yeah.
And I know that there's like a more formal assessment too on CDC. I came across it. It was kind of like do you have people in your household that are more at risk for COVID? I can't remember the other questions it was asking, but there are some resources on the CDC website too that seem like it can help you in your decision making for this coming school year.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there's definitely a lot of great resources out there, and CDC is one of them. And the more well-informed you are, the better you can make your decision. So I would read a lot of articles, on CDC, on TEA. I know some of them are more biased over one type of learning over another, but the more information you have, the better informed you are, and maybe you'll feel more better about making a decision.
Oh, awesome. This has been a really great, valuable session with you. And thank you for sharing all your knowledge and your perspective as an educator and a parent on in-person and virtual learning. It's going to be an interesting school year. Maybe we might have to touch base in a couple of weeks, kind of see how things are going and share any new information that you might have if you'd be willing to be on again on our Nap Chats.
Sure. I would love to. I would love to. It's been a pleasure, guys.
Thank you, Katherine.
Well, thank you. And we'll be seeing you very soon. And Joy from Facebook says, thank you.
Thank you, Joy.
Thank you for your comment and questions.
So thank you to all of our listeners and people watching today. Thank you for your comments, for your questions, for engaging with us. We truly appreciate you being part of our Nap Chat show and sharing some great information that we have that we're learning from all these parents that we're talking to. So,
we'll continue to monitor too. I know this is a very current situation that information might be outdated a week from now. So we'll continue to monitor that and the parent interest over time. So I would just say if there's any other topics of interest parents want to explore or introduce, please reach out to us. YouTube, Facebook, hello@eliandalleybaby.com. Just find us, or Instagram. We're open to your ideas.
We'd love to hear the topics that you want to hear about in the future, whether it be about sleep training, or newborn care, or child nutrition. I've heard from some people who are interested in that as well. So let us know. We would love to hear from some experts who might want to share their expertise on the show as well. And thank you again. If you enjoy what you're hearing, if you enjoy getting the information from this podcast, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, or also we are now on a podcast as well. So you can find us on your favorite podcast platform. And we're also on Facebook. So follow us on Facebook. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in today. And we'll see you next time on Nap Chats.
All right.
See y'all. Bye.